Good evening. Good evening and welcome to Love and Stuff. I am Marcus Holmes, your facilitator of all things love and stuff. And I am just thankful to be able to be here another Tuesday. I hope you enjoy, if you are in the US, a very wonderful Labor Day and holiday weekend. I'm just going to click share to invite a few folks because the algorithms have gotten me again, and I'm only able to invite so many people as a part of the invite. Looks like got some things going on in the background here. Oh, interesting. All right, we've been trying to work on that a little bit, and we will keep working at it. There's no place like show business. So we're going to make sure that we are hopefully all situated. Okay, hope so. Having some challenge with the background, we will be just fine. Let's see if that helps us a little bit. All right. If you're seeing me in a psychedelic view, I'm working it out. All right. I am very good. Thank you so much. All right. There are some folks that have joined us, and I hope that you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. Some folks are already here on the Marcus R. Holmes page, a few folks on YouTube, looking at the Love and Stuff page. Oh, it looks like it's panning out. Okay, I think there's a little lighting challenge in here. All right. There we go. Okay, cool. And so I think I will just hopefully share it. A couple folks. I hope that you will click share and share it with some folks as well. That'll help me. All right. All right. Thank you so much. I am just sharing the post. It will let me share. There we go. You should click share and share it with some folks as well. I'm trying to work on my volume and all of these different. There we go. All right. Cool. All right. It's trying to give me the heebie-jeebies here. All right. Thank those of you that have joined us so far. I'm just clicking share. I hope you will do the same thing, just to invite a few folks to join us in the conversation. Will you do that? I would appreciate it. A couple places. All right, almost done. I hope that you are clicking share to do that same thing as well. All right. All right, we'll get into our topic here. I'm so thankful that you have joined us. Right. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing the video. Those that are joining, I'm trying to track with you on both places, and it is. Just drop a hello so I can see who has joined us. It is not cooperating, but we are not going to worry about it not cooperating, not today. We are going to do just fine. Going to be just fine in a few seconds. All right, there we go. All right, Eric Powers joined us. Thank you so much. I hope that you will click share. Those of you that are joining us, please click share. And if you're interested in coming live with me, I will inbox you the link so that you can join me live I may have the opportunity to drop it in the comments. Hello, Mama V. Thank you so much for joining. Battling with this background situation, but we shall overcome someday. All right. So I'm going to go into the topic. I'm excited that you are here, and I hope that you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. As I get into the topic, again, remember that you can always send inboxes to the Love and Stuff inbox or to Marcus R. Holmes with new topics. And we're always open to new and different topics. Sometimes we're bringing guests on, as you have seen over the last several weeks, but we'll always go back to the inbox topics to share some of those topics, as many of the topics that we can. And sometimes when they are similar topics, as tonight's is similar to some other topics, but there's a little something different in it, we will certainly lift the voices of those in the inbox. And again, it's your choice. You can be anonymous if you so choose, so we will maintain your anonymity if that is your desire. But we hope that the stuff that we share here both provide some perspectives to those in the inbox, as well as to those that are hearing the topics. And it's a judgment-free zone, so we don't want people to judge someone else's situation in that you say, oh, that they're stupid, they're foolish. You never know what might befall a person and what set of circumstances brings someone to a certain situation. So Kiara Thomas has joined us, Felix Holmes, both of you click share, tag someone to join us. I was only able to invite a limited number of folks, and I think I know what Facebook is up to. Okay, there will be a commercial probably at halftime just to re-engage some of you who expressed an interest in the dating game, but you did not sign up for the survey or inbox me and say, hey, I'm in. I've got to have one of those. I can't just assume that you're in. Going to the topic and hoping that my lighting is working out. We tested it and it's just, it's one of those things, and we will continue to make it the platform that you will want to come to on a Tuesday night. Click love or like or mean face if you want to. If this is a platform, a place that you don't mind coming to every Tuesday night, we appreciate those of you that have joined us across platforms. We're going live through Twitch TV, which is a new channel for us, YouTube events, Facebook on the Marcus R. Holmes page, and of course, at home on the Love and Stuff page. Drop in the comments where you are. Some of you have said hello. Tell us where you are, what time of day it is there as I go into this topic. All right. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Hi, she says. I have watched Love and Stuff on and off, and I have heard topics like my situation. Me and my husband have been married 10 years. We have always tried to keep it spicy, she says, as far as sex goes. We have role played and just about everything, she says. Lately, over the last few months, my husband has wanted to try stuff like handcuffs and bondage. We'll get into that. I'm not with it at all, she says. Sometimes he has pulled my hair and grabbed my neck. She's referencing during their intercourse, excuse me, but nothing real rough, she says. I asked, where did he get the stuff from? I asked if he had been watching porn. He said no. Let's just say that I checked around a lot, LOT in caps, she says, and his story seems to check out. I want him to be satisfied, but this is literally sadistic, she says. I didn't mean to laugh at her. I'm just don't hear sadistic as much, I guess. What should I ask or do, she's saying. So I want to ask you, are there boundaries? Should there be boundaries in a relationship? Certainly, I think in every relationship, there has to be communication. And it sounds like they've reached a place where communication is going to be pretty important for them to move to the next level of satisfaction, whatever that might be for the two of them. I want to hear from you. What do you say is the sadism or enjoying inflicting pain or bondage upon somebody else? The pulling of hair, enjoying that, getting some arousal from that. the choking, she said grabbing, but as we got into a little bit of the inbox discussion, he does kind of at a point in the sex act grab her neck and apply pressure. And that is not something new. That's something that he's always done. And I've talked to different men, some of them saying their wives like that, some wives do not like that. I'd like to hear from you. I know that we have just a couple of people here, but I'd like to hear from you. What do you say when you are in a marriage, especially? Well, we'll extend this to those of you that are life partners in relationship, but not a marriage. Is there a boundary? Are there boundaries? Are there places that you should not cross? And what are those and how do you get to those? I'd love to hear from you. Okay, I'm just checking to see, okay, we got just a few folks here, cross platforms. I'm hoping that you will click share and invite somebody to be engaged in our conversation. Send me a like or love if you think that the wife or husband should try out whatever the other one wants to try. So if it's something new and it's not illegal and it doesn't violate your relationship, such as bringing a third party in, which is a whole nother show, is it something that you should try? Give me a like, a love, or a mean face. If you don't think you should try it, give me a mean face. If you think that you should try it, just to try it to please your spouse. Okay, I saw one like, okay? And I'm wondering the other folks that might be watching, is that you're thinking about it? What do you think? Put yourself in the situation and your husband or your wife approaches you and says, I want to handcuff you, I want to tie you up, I want to punch you, or I want to bite you, I want to inflict some pain upon you and some restraint upon you, and that will excite me. Is that a no-go for you? Or is that, hey, let's try it. Let's keep the spice spicy. What do you say? I'd love to hear from you. We're live on Love and Stuff, and we're from the inbox talking about what I've entitled spousal satisfaction. And so we've had a topic similar, talked about spouses having differences of desire. And this couple, after 10 years, it seems like his desire, which she says there doesn't appear to be any prompting, but when she said in her comment, I asked her when she said she had done a lot of checking. She told me, ask the ladies, they will know. But she has done some checking of, joint credit cards, and she snooped basically to see if there was porno receipts of the internet porno, on a cell phone porno, all this kind of stuff to see if he had acquired some new taste. Andre Green has joined us. Thank you so much. I didn't see you come in, and maybe people are coming in and I'm not seeing. So help me out by shouting yourself out if I don't see you. Of course, I know there are some people that say, don't shout me out, but that's one of the things in Love and Stuff. We want you to be engaged. They need to talk to each other honestly about their respective needs and fears. Great point, Andre. I'd love to have you come on to let me know if you're interested in coming and talking about it. I don't know if Tracy's there with you, but I'd love to have the two of you there to expound upon that. They need to talk to each other honestly about their respective needs. Yes, and this appears, Andre, to be a newer need for him. So give me some likes, Andre, and other couples, people that are in relationship or have been in relationship, and you were in for a while, and your sexual needs and desires changed. Because that is in part what I believe tonight's Love and Stuff has to do with. What happens when your needs change. And I'm going to say, for whatever reason, we could easily say, well, she didn't snoop enough, he's definitely into porn, or we don't know all of that, right? We just know she snooped and she didn't find what she considers traces or signs of porn. But his needs have changed. So they are in their late 30s, early 40s, which I recall being a very pivotal time as it relates to thought, preference, mindset, a lot of that. Awakening. Some of you will certainly know and be able to attest to that if you move through that part of your journey. You may have experienced some shifts in taste overall, um, preferences overall, things of that nature. So, what do you do when that happens? Okay. And I am looking at different platforms and I am not able to see exactly who's here with me, but I hope Andre and I've seen Valencia and some others that have named chime in. And then I would be happy to invite you on camera. I know it's a topic that some people might not want to touch, no pun intended, but I certainly, as you know, Love and Stuff is a wonderful community with outspoken people. It's ever evolving and it should be. And so, Mama V, Valencia, Hot Mama, that's what I'm gonna just say right now. So, because of the topic, I'm being funny, I'm cracking myself up. I want to know in this ever evolving, which I tell people all the time, and I'm not a psychologist. I just believe that I've been given a lot of wisdom because I've been around a lot of people and I've literally listened to the things that they said and tested them out on other people, and they work. But I believe that in any situation, there's that screen going again. So if I look kind of psychedelic, consider it a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I'm a superhero. I don't know what else to tell you. I believe that communication is important with without regard to where you are in your relationship. You have to be able to talk transparently to your partner. And so I'm going to be advocating that early on in this conversation, but I'm hoping that others will chime in about this evolution and being open to hearing the change of taste. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the change of taste is good or bad. It's new, it's a change. And it's something that you should acknowledge, whether or not you're yet ready to embrace it. And embrace, I mean, practice what your spouse is saying, but it is something that you have to contend with that is very real for him or her. And so that's an important part of conversation. And sometimes we need tools and we need other resources, subject matter resources to help us talk through these conversations. And so both of those are good. I know that people don't often want to talk about necessarily their bedroom with a third party, but an objective third party might be good if your communication has broken down or isn't what you feel strong enough to maybe survive through this important discussion. Well, Andre Grain, they work. Because there's a certain amount of anonymity, they work. They both work. They're both gainfully employed. They both work kind of a 9 to 5. And he kind of has a hustle after the 9 to 5, but they both work. They both work. So, Tawana Mann has joined us. Thank you so much. I hope that you will click share, and I hope all of you that have joined will click share. I'm not seeing everybody that's in the room for some reason, but thank you for coming. Appreciate that so much. So I want to see if I can get Mama V to join me. Mama V, are you available to join me? You got a good comment coming, I see. Gotcha. All right. Andre, Mama V, I'd love to have both of you come. Both of you coming? I'll be more than happy to drop it in the comments. You coming? Okay, that sounds like a yes. That sounds like yes, you're coming. All right, here we go. Let's see. I'm going to drop the link in the comments so that you can join us in the discussion. Should be able to click on the link and come and join us. Valencia is saying communication openness, and it has to be ongoing. We are exposed to different things and need changes, need change things and need change over time. Sometimes persons need a different level of stimulation as their internal needs change. All right, thank you for that. Daja Beautiful Elaborate has joined us. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Andre, for that. Okay, I'll drop the link. Now on my phone, it isn't just appearing as a link, but I can certainly get it to you in a different way, Mama V. I'm just dropping in your inbox. Here we go. And those of you that are joining us, we're talking from the inbox on a topic I am calling spousal satisfaction. And I will certainly reread the topic while I wait for our senior associate producer to come and pin it for us. Don't worry, my screen is just fighting the light. The light and power of my love is too strong to be contained in Love and Stuff tonight. And so that's why you see that going back and forth. My energy is blowing this light. And see, that's happening because my energy is so powerful. That's what happens when you come and join this community. You are just overtaken by love. And so that's what you're seeing happening in the background. It's my energy. It's just lighting this room up. Okay, so I will read the topic one more time and welcome all of you. Oh, no, that's okay, Tawana. I was sending the link for Mama V, but keep chiming in if you can. If you can chime in or watch, I appreciate your being here. And click share and tag some folks and join us in the discussion. All right? Okay, so I'm going to read the topic while Mama V is coming. She says, give her a second. Hi, she says from the inbox. I have watched Love and Stuff on and off, and I have heard topics like my situation, which oftentimes people have similar situations and they may miss an episode or so. Me and my husband have been married 10 years. And as we clarify for Andre Green, one of our Love and Stuff community members, they're in their late 30s, early 40s. We have always tried to keep it spicy as far as sex goes. We have role played and just about everything. Lately, over the last few months, she says, my husband has wanted to try stuff like handcuffs and bondage. I'm not with it at all, she says. Sometimes he has pulled my hair and grabbed my neck. She's referencing during their sexual intercourse, but nothing real rough, she says. I asked, where did he get this stuff from? I asked if he has been watching porn. He said no. Let's just say that I checked around a lot, LOT in caps, she says, and his story seems to check out. So after further talk with her, she was checking his credit card statements and his internet and his passwords and accounts to see if there was any trail or trace of pornography, and she couldn't find any. I want him to be satisfied, but this is literally sadistic, she says. What should I do? What should I ask? Those are her questions. So she's preparing for a conversation with him, which, I think communication is important. And she wants to know, what should she do? Should she try it? In so many words. Is this something she should try? What do you say? What should she do? What would you do? Right? What would you do? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We have Valencia Etner joining us shortly in a moment, and you can feel free to join us as well. That's a beautiful picture.
Hi.
Hello there. In a moment, and you can feel free to join us as well. So you must have me going on a second device.
I do. I'm going to turn it on. Down.
Okay. And as you can see, my power has just overwhelmed, and I'm a superhero now. The love has overtaken the screen. It's more love than anybody can contain.
Not even really there. It's a hologram. We know.
That's what it is.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So I wanted to ask you, I want to ask about this. Tawana Man is saying, treat her as a queen and she will always remember you are the king. And in regards to that, this king likes to pull hair and choke, which this is not new. So I said to her, because this was a foretaste of glory divine in such in some regard, he had already shown you
Yeah.
that he likes some kind of rough, right? And I asked her, did you think that that would progress or no? And she thought, I just never thought about that. It was so slight. She said it was, you know, it would happen on occasion. It wasn't every time. He wasn't like cussing her out or something, but he has pulled her hair good and applied pressure to her neck. And so when I said, when you say apply pressure to your neck, do you mean choke? And she said, well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I said, okay, so it sounds like he's going to another level in this.
Hmm.
And maybe in your conversation with him, you might ask him, is this something you've done in any past relationships?
I
And go
think
ahead.
just our culture. I think it is cultural. I think that what is happening does not mean that you are watching, like she's been looking to see if he's doing porn or all of those things, that his pattern has not changed, but it is our culture. It is movies, it's Netflix. It's you don't have to go any farther
Mm-hmm.
than movies like 365 or other things that are out there that are just right on that edge, right on that very edge.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a movie years ago. I can't remember the name of it right now, but the first scene, the woman dies of asphyxiation because she was doing choke sex on
Mm-hmm.
the pool table or something. I can't remember what the name of the movie was. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the point is that these are not new issues, but people, one, pandemic has given you time to think about some crazy stuff, some stuff you might want to try. You
Yeah.
know, like people have not necessarily navigated downtime well. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just think that you know, creativity, um, especially, and you got to know your mate. You got to know how creative they've been. Like if they've been the creative one all along and you've gone with it all along, then when does that end?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to determine, and you got to be able to say, this is my deal breaker. I can't go but this far. I can't
Mm-hmm.
do the cuffs. I'm not going to do the tie. I'm not going to do and say that's not a reflection of a loving relationship to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reflection of something else.
And I want to ask you, so should there be a limit? Should there be something that you're not willing to try with your spouse?
That's between the mates.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to, and I know it sounds crazy because I'm going to say it like this because we don't think of that as what we would call godly exchange, but the bed is undefiled. And whatever that means to you, that's up to that person, that couple, whether or not those kinds of things, which we might label kinky or we might label some other term, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's just free for them, that
Yeah.
that's a free sharing space to do and to try and to stimulate to whatever level that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason we are knowing about this, I feel, is that she brought it to the forum,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some things that if you are, that we shouldn't necessarily know.
Mm-hmm.
That's your bedroom behavior.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
And
a problem for her
mm-hmm.
because it's taking her to a place that she's uncomfortable. And what I
Mm-hmm.
really believe is that this mutual love, admiration, and care means that if I've gone this far for you and I say that I'm at a point I can't go any farther, you should not be pushing me to go to that, because when you push me to go beyond the place of my comfort, you
Mm-hmm.
move into a place of abuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you move into a place of abuse, if I don't call it abuse, when I feel it as abuse, then I become an enabler to my own abuse.
Mhm.
So I think she has to say, that's my bottom. I can't go here.
Mhm.
And maybe we need to discuss why it is you need to go here. Is
Mhm.
it boredom? Is it something that that you need to check it's not always the person who's saying no that's got the issue.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And
So
I do know that, 10 years, 10 critical years, even though I think any 10 years can be critical years for your development. But 10 years around the 30s going into the 40s is a pivotal time.
it is Mark. It is. It absolutely is, Marcus. And
And your desires and preferences and stuff evolve. So
and it depends on how long you've been doing this thing.
yeah,
If you were sexually active as a teenager, truth
yeah,
of the matter is you 20 years into this thing by now. So you trying to find some new ways to, you know, express that part of you.
yes,
Everybody doesn't start in the same place,
yes,
and everyone doesn't have the same needs.
yes,
And if they're not talking about those needs, and they should have been talking about them for a long time.
yeah. Now,
Sometimes play is play until
mhm,
play becomes real life.
yeah,
And you got to talk about that kind of play when it becomes play.
yeah. And so what happens if he has really defined this as a need, but as you say, this is her bottom. And I didn't want to say bottom, even though bottom works here. This is her bottom. So if he says, this is my need, though, I've evolved, and this is my need. This is what's happening. This is what I desire or need.
Then I,
Just as you answer that, Marilyn Hamilton has joined us. Thank you so much. Andre Green is saying, do they have a safe word that might help? Andre, I really want you to explain your safe word. I think I understand it, but I'd love to
okay,
hear from you to explain it.
because I got
Um,
about 7 minutes. So let me say this.
okay.
He needs to come to grips with the fact that this may not necessarily be a need. It may very well be a desire that he has allowed to escalate to a place where he says it's a need.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one needs to tie up their mate.
Mm.
No one needs it.
No one needs it.
No one needs to tie up your mate. It may be your desire. It may be something that you feel like you want to try, but you don't need to put me in handcuffs. You
Okay.
don't need
I don't need to restrain you.
to restrain me. You don't,
Okay.
that's not a need.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that if it is a need, then there needs to be something else going on. There needs to be some therapy. There needs to
Okay.
be some coming to grips with why that is a need, why a sadomasochistic relationship with your spouse is necessary for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what I will say to you again is he does not have to watch porno. There are shows on Netflix and Hulu and all of those who that like this. I think I want to say it's like Real Sex or something. And I can't remember the name of it because when you're going through and you say, "Ooh, do they really do this?" And is this really like on just regular Netflix where people are trying new things?
Yeah.
And they want to try new things, but it's not about a need
Yeah.
except to have some variety. And you have to determine whether your love at its core is really expressed in this extreme relationship sexually.
I want to ask you that, and I know you've got limited time because we've had similar shows where there are women who say, I'm not going to perform oral sex. There are
Mhm,
women who say, I'm not going to participate in anal sex.
mhm.
And so when the other spouse, or fewer now, there used to be, when in the 70s and 80s, people used to say that, yeah, people used to say that men didn't like to perform oral sex on women. That used to be a taboo. Now today it is. If you don't do it, you might not get a second date. But
Music, music, music helps with that as well.
yeah, even though I think Marvin Gaye was telling us that he was he was saying some things in the way he did it.
The Whispers gave instructions. The Isley brothers gave instructions. And now you got a WAP and you got all of this music that
Yeah,
literally gives you play by play.
yeah, yeah,
And so we are subject to the appetites that are stirred in us
mm-hmm,
based on the stimulation that comes from without
mm-hmm.
and how it manifests itself from within.
And so, should my love relationship be strong enough for me not to place you in a position where I am becoming an abuser, but I am also leading you into some things I like that maybe you don't like?
Or
Should
that
our love be strong enough to withstand that? Where I say, "Well, let's try it," and you're saying, "I'm not comfortable," and you wouldn't be if it's something you haven't done, but I trust you leading me into this out of the depths of our love, even though it feels for me extreme.
you really gotta navigate that thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though.
Yeah,
That's the primary thing I'm thinking. Like you were saying, there has to be this conversation going on all along because as I'm evolving, I'm not married, wasn't married in my 30s, but I'm telling you, going into my leaving my 30s, going into my 40s, we
I
would have been talking about it every day because something different that never crossed my mind before said, "Hey, did you know you could do this?" And so we would have to be having conversations all the time because my appetite for life and things and experiences would have been changing. But I also need the person that I'm in relationship with to trust me enough that I'm going to lead them in some areas that might be uncomfortable, but never abuse them.
obviously she does not feel that comfort. And
Mm-hmm,
so that gets to the core of this. In
mm-hmm,
what other areas are you not feeling comfort?
mm-hmm.
And have you not been feeling comfort and you haven't been willing to speak out? Because you're not even willing to speak out right now. You in the inbox.
Yeah.
So we
But
got
we're happy that she's in the inbox, Mama B.
that's not an indictment.
Yes, thank you.
Let me make it real clear.
Yeah,
It's not an indictment. It just says it speaks to a discomfort that's
yeah,
with the relationship.
yeah. And I think without, because she is in our community, I,
Right.
but
No,
without devolving, I mean, without divulging a lot more information, I can say this: I believe from our conversations that a lot of it is her orientation to sex. I believe,
and again,
and
that's something
it's a
that
whole nother conversation that I want to have you on when I can have you on for the full time.
our
Is
foundation.
sex orientation and the church, because some of the orientations that we've learned, some
Yeah.
people have learned, and some of us have tested and been rebels about, but some that we've learned in the church.
That don't yeah, that's a whole that now listen, I'll be your guest for that one. I
Yeah,
can take you somewhere for that one. But
yeah.
anyway, my thing is as I go is that there is a foundational issue here.
Mm-hmm.
And the foundational is that one had possibly had a very conservative view of sex,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one had a very free view of sex.
Mm-hmm.
And as the one who is free gets freer, and the one who's conservative reaches over to that middle ground,
Mm-hmm.
the conservative one is not in a place where they can go all the way over here. That's a quantum leap
Mm-hmm.
sexually for them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it's only a couple of steps over for the one who's always been free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so again, that's a communication, and that's and if that's a church then that's a prayerful place where that person has to be to say, give me what it takes, and then show me through discernment if I'm placing myself in a position where I'm really just walking into abuse and this don't have nothing to do with this love relationship.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Wonderful topic. I'll look back later.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mama V. Love you so much.
You
And our thoughts and prayers are still with you in the passing of your sister.
appreciate it.
So much. That's Mama V, always bringing us wonderful insight as a valued member of the Love and Stuff community. And we want to hear your voice. What do you say from our topic from the inbox? A woman who has been married for 10 years, late 30s, early 40s, and her husband wants to infuse some more spice into their marriage. He wants to put some bondage and handcuffs into their sex act. Is that going too far? If your spouse wants to try something that you have never tried, um, as Tawana Man is saying, is there a limit? Andre Green says a safe word is a code word, series of code words, or other signal used by a person to communicate their physical or emotional state, typically when approaching or crossing a physical, emotional, or moral boundary. Okay. They don't have a safe word, Andre, and that's not a bad idea. I think I'm going to have to relax the screen because I'm tired of being a superhero. I apologize, but my lighting is new, and maybe that's what's happening. Of course, I believe it is because of my magnetic energy that it has created this hologram superhero effect. The light cannot absorb all of this love. So I'm going to help the light out with this. And I hope that you will bear patient with that because I think that you should be able to see um, uh, a little less of all of this. All right, we're going to have to try it. If this does not work, we will take it off altogether. All right. So I'd love to hear from you. I've dropped the link in the comments. Ann Lewis has joined us. Thank you so much, Ann Lewis, for joining us. I hope that you will click share and tag someone to join us in the conversation. What is the limit? Are there limits in your relationship? So some of you give me some likes. If you have limits or boundaries in your sexual relationship, couples, and there's no judgment. I know we have married couples, unmarried couples, all types of couples that are having sex. I know, and I've heard from you in the inbox, Marcus Holmes, you're a man of faith, you're a Christian. I am, and I am working on my best soul salvation with fear and trembling, but I am not standing in judgment of people who are choosing to do something different. Their ultimate judge is God, and hopefully I'm a reflector of his light, for an example. Hopefully. But I know the reality is there are unmarried people having sex, and some of them call themselves couples. Some of them are couples, and some of them are opposite sex and the same sex. That could be a different show. But I know that people are having sex, both inside marriage and outside marriage. The question is, for those that are in committed relationships, long-term relationships, covenant relationships, are there sexual boundaries? And are those understood? What happens if your spouse has a taste evolution, if you will? Your spouse has a preference evolution to try something sexually that has never happened before. So your spouse wants to do something that you all never discussed or you never did in your relationship, and now your spouse has an appetite for that thing. And you have never done it, you've never thought about doing it, you've never felt comfortable about doing it, probably why you've never done it, maybe. And so now your spouse wants to do that. What do you do? What's the next step that happens? Brian Magwood joined us. Thank you so much, Brian Magwood. I hope that you will click share. Mayetta Harris Hall joined us. Thank you so much. I hope you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. We're talking from the inbox about spousal satisfaction. Are there boundaries? And how do you go about setting them? And what happens when someone's taste, someone's affinity, someone's proclivity, someone's desire changes in that relationship? Do you make accommodations for it? To what extent? Or as Mama V said, is it a form of abuse when you're uncomfortable and you're pushed into it? Is that a form of abuse? I want to hear from you. Godchildren Cropper has just joined us. I hope you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. We're talking from the inbox on spousal satisfaction. What happens when your spouse develops a new appetite, desire, passion for something sexual that you all have never done in your relationship and that you have never done ever. So it's an area of uncomfortableness for you. What do you do? Do you have some discussion to see where did this come from? Why do you want to do this with me, to me? What gain is this? Do you have that discussion? Do you get a third party resource involved if you don't feel like you can have that discussion? Should you be able to have that discussion with your spouse, life partner, significant other, regardless? But the reality is sometimes people can't talk about certain things for whatever reason. So what do you do? I'd love to hear from you. And I think right at that point, we will just take a quick break. And I hope that I can get you engaged and involved in something very, very, very special. Are you ready for love? Hi, I'm Marcus Holmes, the facilitator of the Love and Stuff community, and we're ready for you to join us on the next episode of the dating game. Forget all of the social distancing. Let's get up close and personal online. And who knows, you might make a heart connection that will lead you to a private Zoom room date. Inbox me now at Marcus R. Holmes or at Love and Stuff for your opportunity to connect closer while we are so far apart. Stay safe and be well. So it's your opportunity to join us in the Love and Stuff dating game. It's our second edition of the dating game. Some of you have signed up already. Some of you have taken the survey. Many of you have expressed an interest, but you haven't either signed up or taken the survey. Inbox us at Marcus R. Holmes for Love and Stuff so we can get you the survey link. You can get in the survey. We're going to do it on Zoom. All right. So I want to get back into the topic. That was our station identification. I hope that Brenda Landry has joined us. Thank you so much. I am hopeful that you will click share and tag someone to join us in this discussion as we're coming upon the 9:30 hour. I just want to hear, yeah, wow. This was our former associate producer who tendered his resignation a couple of years. Adrian Gray, I'm so glad you came. Thank you for being here. So I want to know whether or not you would accommodate your spouse if your spouse's sexual appetite changed to include something that you had not ever before in your life participated in. That's part and parcel of the question, right? This wife of 10 years has a husband whose desires have changed. He wants to try bondage. He wants to try handcuffs. He has pulled her hair in the past. He has, as she said, applied pressure to her neck. After more talking, he's done some choking, right? During the sex act, which might have been a foretaste of what was to come. But now he wants to do different things, and she feels totally uncomfortable with those things. What do you do when your spouse wants to try something different and new sexually and you are not comfortable with it? What is that conversation like? Do you find a way to become comfortable? Is there some obligation and responsibility for spousal satisfaction, even when that satisfaction puts your comfortable personhood and constitution in challenge? I'd like to hear from you. We've dropped the link in the comments, and if you're available to come on and talk with me live, as Mama V just did, I'd love to hear from you and hear, what would you do? What would you do if your spouse, it may be, here's another hypothetical. I had mentioned earlier, back in the 70s, while I know for a fact, I was not, but back in the 70s, while I know for a fact that there were plenty of men, African-American men and other men, who performed oral sex on their wives and girlfriends, it was not considered en vogue. For whatever the reason was, it was not, it was considered almost otherworldly. Believe it or not, millennials, if you watch this. Nowadays, it is a mainstay, right? You hear that all the time. If you're listening in this culture immersed in any way, you hear it. It's regular thought. Let's just, for the purpose of a hypothetical, let's say that in your relationship, you all didn't perform oral sex, the man on the woman on the man, take your pick. And now 10 years into the marriage, the husband says, you know what? I want some, and brothers fill in the word, sisters fill in the word. Or your wife says, you know what? I want you to fill in the words. I know you have the words. You can drop them in the comments if you so dare. What do you do if there's something you've never done, never thought about doing, never thought you would get any pleasure from doing? What do you do when you are asked to do something in the confines of your relationship, but you do not want to do it? Adrian says skullduggery. I've never heard that word. So you're going to have to give me some. I've heard skull. I've never heard skullduggery. Thank you for that. I'm learning something new on Love and Stuff. What do you do? I know that many people would say, well, you talk about it, but what is that conversation like when you are telling your spouse, I'm not comfortable with performing, fill in the blank, whatever that might be, where your spouse says, I need to try it. You know how we get in this, I need, and Mama V pointed out, sometimes what you need is an extension of a hyper extended want. It's a want on extreme. Do you need to tie your spouse up? I kind of chuckled at it when she said it, because I'm like, yes, you do. Do you need to? Do you need to handcuff your spouse, your life partner, your significant other to the bedpost in the middle section that has the bigger post? That way they won't have as much give. I've watched a lot of movies. Do you? The question is, do you really? Do you need to have oral sex performed on you? Do you need to, brothers? Most of the brothers I asked in preparation of this said, I need to. And most of the sisters that I talked to in preparation about oral sex at least said, I need to. Most of the sisters that I talked about said, but I don't need to anal sex, and I don't need to bondage. I don't need to anything that will bring pain to me. Jonathan Williams has joined us. Thank you so much. I hope that you will click share, tag someone to join us in the discussion. I don't know if the lovely Shalita, who I know affectionately as Boo Boo, is with you, but I would love for you all to click on the link and come in, because I think this is the topic that you all might help us respond to. It's not your topic. I'm not saying because you done did this topic. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying because you're a married couple, and any couple would be welcome, married or not. I know that we have a lot of Christians and non-Christians and people of all walks of life. So I'm not relegating it to saying I can only get a good example from a married couple. It is an example I want to hear from, and it's a perspective that I think would be good to share with the married couple from the inbox. So from the inbox, John, they're talking about whether or not the wife should participate in this bondage that the husband wants to do. He wants to handcuff her, tie her up. He's already pulled her hair, kind of choked her during the sexual act. He wants to do something else. It's 10 years, and now he wants to kind of, his tastes are evolving. So what do you do if your taste, your preference, your proclivities, your desires change? I use the word proclivity. Your desires change. What do you do? I'm just hoping that I can get someone to join me as we're coming to the 9:30 hour. Okay. All right. I want to give you the opportunity to come and share. Give me a like or a love if you would, in most cases, go the extra mile for your spouse in doing something sexually that you've never done, as long as it is within the confines of your relationship. It's a whole nother show to talk about bringing a third party in. It's a whole nother show to talk about our orientation as it relates to what were we taught about sex, right? Because you and I were taught things, shown things, experienced things about sex that make up our sexual constitution, is what I'll call it. It's our declared Bill of Rights. It's our constitution around these are the things that we hold true, and these are the things that we actually do, right? And we learned that somewhere. It wasn't just something we came with. I believe we came with the borders for all sexual experiences. But God designed a specific pathway and portal for sex. That's my belief. God allowed us to go along the spectrum because he created us in his image to procreate, to envision, to create vision, to make out of nothing. So there's this broad spectrum of opportunity, of choice, but he had a desired path and a desired meaning for the expression of sex as an outpouring of love. But along the spectrum, we have been taught that certain things along the spectrum are not to be experienced within the relationship that's in covenant, right? And as you go farther out, we're taught that different types of sexual expression are not right, right? And so we learn that. A parent taught us, a school teacher taught us, an uncle taught us, an aunt taught us, a Sunday school teacher taught us, a bishop, a pastor, a district elder taught us, right? A neighbor taught us. And some of those people that taught us the wrong behavior because they taught us by having us be immersed in participation, right? And so we formed these opinions and practices and theorems about what is a good expression of sexual attraction, what is a good outcome, right? Based on what we were taught. So if you bring that into a relationship, right, is the place that I'm going with it. If you bring your expression of your orientation to sex to a relationship with another person who was taught different things about orientation and brings those to the relationship, there has to be some communication, right? And even as you age and evolve, your preferences and appetites change based on, you heard Mama V saying, other factors and variables, other influences that might influence those things. And so that is what it appears is happening in the inbox, that this husband has for 10 years expressed himself in one way, and now he is evolving, whatever the nexus for that evolving is. I don't want that to be lost on us. I'm not judging him for whatever it is, because men, women, different things influence us to that evolution, right? And so, whatever it is that influenced him adversely or positively, to that end, he had a change in mindset around what would bring him stimulation. And that is an important conversation to have, so that his wife understands that maybe it isn't at all about her, but more about him. And helping him to navigate that would be very important to do. Would be very, very important to do. All right. Thank you, Chantel Michelle Jackson, for joining us. I hope those that are joined us on the various platforms will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. It's 9:36, and we're going to close out this part of the discussion, but we want to keep the discussion going. And so we will post the topic so that you can see the topic, and let's keep the discussion going. In this relationship from the inbox, 10 years have passed since they've been married, and now the husband's desires are shifting, they're evolving, they're changing. Whatever the exposures are or were, they have shifted his desires such that he wants to try things in their marital bed, things of a sexual nature that they had not before practiced. And the wife is totally uncomfortable. And although there have been foretastes of this, as she said from the inbox, of things that he has done before, this is something new. And as Mama V said, Valencia Edner, as she joined us, it's always important to have the conversation, because what you definitely want for your spouse, your life partner, your significant other to feel is that they're not being forced into something to satisfy you, but that they have a clear understanding of what this evolution is about, and that you all can navigate it together. Love is never going to be one-sided, right? And love is not going to seek its own. And if you operate just from that point, and sometimes it's a difficult place from which to operate, but you must, if you are in a relationship, you must look at how your love is seeking to serve others, how it is seeking to serve the other person in the relationship. How is it seeking to provide safety and well-being and transparency and trust and respect and adoration and teamwork and collaboration? How is the love seeking to serve other than you? If you find your love seeking only to serve yourself, you should start questioning that foundation of love. And that's really what we want to make sure the inbox hears. Just as we know that God loved us and gave his son for us and desires that we love him back with everything that we have, and our neighbors as ourselves, that whole circle of love, if you will, that love quotient, if you will, requires give and take. You're going to get, and you have gotten, If you don't feel that you have received love, believe me, if you are here, if you can see me and hear me, you are receiving love now. It might not be at the measure or capacity that you want, but you're receiving God's love now. And then in turn, God doesn't just want you to be a recipient, He wants you to give. First to Him, and building your capacity to love starts greatly with Him. That's the best place to start. It's the best example you could ever use for capacity building for love. And then yourself, your neighbor as yourself, right? Which implies that you have to have some process, practice, and strategy for self love, and not for the purpose of seeking it for yourself, if that makes any sense. You don't set up love so that everything comes to you. You set up love so that everything that flows through you and flows to you is connected from that to that same love. That's not self-serving. It's a love that flows through you, flows from some other source to you and then through you, and back to you and through you. And so in that bond of relationship, again, in Love and Stuff, we know there are all types of couples. And so be it your life partner, your spouse, your significant other, when you are evolving as an individual, the relationship has to be navigated by two people, even if only one has evolved. And that must mean you must seek out the ways that you might serve the other to become comfortable, serve the other to respect their desires and wishes, so that your relationship can continue to grow. I'm Marcus Holmes. It's been a great show. We want to keep the topic going, the conversation going. And the way we do that is in the comments. I'm going to share the topic in the comments. Our senior associate producer, J. Gerald Harvey IV, will drop it in the comments. And then I ask for you to share the content widely so we can keep coming back to the comments and sharing the topic. And as we move forward, we are going to have some discussion about this notion of orientation. You see, the orientation that we're talking about is, how were you onboarded to sex and love? Because however you were onboarded to sex and love, you're likely to take that into every relationship that you enter. And so if there are things that are taboo, for instance, because you were abused, it could be good things that become taboo because you were abused. Or if there are philosophies around sex or relationship that were handed down to you from watching your parents or watching your grandparents or your uncle and auntie, or there are philosophies around sexual assault within your family or incest within your family that impacts your thinking, your psyche around how you're onboarded to sex and love. And for those of us that were reared in the church, it's an interesting discussion of the church's thought on orientation, sex, and love, which we're going to have Mama V back to have that discussion. And the third part of the discussion is that the boundaries, as we've discussed before in previous shows, around the love relationship, marriage in the bed being undefiled. And again, we know that there are couples in our Love and Stuff community that are not married, that are in the bed. And we love you still. We don't call you out to say we're calling you out, but we want to acknowledge your presence and acknowledge that you have chosen something different than what we believe has been intended. That's your choice. And we don't take your choice lightly, and we aren't being dismissive of your choice. But if there is some boundary, then what is the third party, the threesome, the other things that you could bring into the situation? Stay tuned to that. Be well, my friends. Have a grateful night. Those of you that are interested in the dating game, don't forget to inbox us at Marcus R. Holmes or Love and Stuff. We will send you the link for the survey so we can get you ready. You might be on your way to the best love, even in the midst of a pandemic. Have a grateful night. Please enjoy and share widely.